Dave Meserve, thanks so much for coming into Has-Been today.
Thank you, Charles.
Please let the folks at home and on the internet know, why are you running one more time for Arcata City Council?
Why am I running? I think I'm running because Arcata seems to have, I'd say, fallen off the cutting edge of progressive cities. We used to be really on the cutting edge of environmentally conscious, socially active, social justice conscious cities, and it just seems as if we're really not there anymore, and I'd like to bring that sort of energy back to the City Council. I also feel that a lot of things get discussed by the City Council, and I realize how hard it is to get things done, having been on the council before, but I just feel as if more actual action could be getting done, and I'd like to help do that.
And so, yeah, what specifically would you like to accomplish if you're on the Arcata City Council the next 4 years?
Well, when I was on the council before, I think some of the most valuable work that was going on at the regional level. And I'd like to contribute to that. I think we need to go beyond sustainability, and we need to look at regional self-sufficiency. And that would be regional self-sufficiency in energy, in food production, in green jobs, in transportation, in waste management. All of those areas are areas where if we cooperate with the other cities in the county and the county itself, then we can actually get things done towards a better future for the whole area.
And specifically, I mean, it seems like Arcata in the last decade, there's been some progress fostering light industry out at the Alder Grove Industrial Park. But during that same period, it seems like Arcata has become a lot less affordable for those very working class folks who would work at such facilities. Do you think there's an issue with gentrification in Arcata?
I think there definitely is, and I think that right now on the council there's a certain lack of class consciousness. I mean, that's even a phrase which isn't used much anymore, and yet it's such a huge element of what's going on across the country. I mean, what we're seeing is the increasing divide between the poor and the rich. You know, the top 10% now own over 35% of everything in the country. The top 1%, the top 10% over 70%. And we're kind of seeing a lot of focus, I think, on improving things for business and not so much on improving things for people. Clearly, we need business to have jobs, but we also need to have a focus on people. And I think it's more a question of balance than anything else. And what I'd like to see is more balance on the council between development and the environment, more balance between public safety and civil liberties, more balance between helping out businesses and helping out people, and more balance between beautifying and making the plaza really a vibrant place and making the neighborhoods a really vibrant place. And that's the sort of balance that I think I could help to provide. In terms of specific projects, I can go into a few if you'd like. Certainly at the top of my list on projects is probably getting the trail built between Eureka and Arcata. I was actually, when I was on the council, I voted for the grant to get the national parks in to organize a trail working group. I participated in that throughout the time I was on the council. We hired a Alto Incorporated to do a survey of it and an estimate of the costs of it. And then things have kind of, you know, nothing has really happened yet. I will say that the city of Arcata now has a plan to get the trail with rail built between the skate park all the way down to Braycut. And I think that's going to move forward, but on a regional level we need to work to get the rest of that done. Also in terms of the future focus and the environmental issues, I think we really need to move ahead with a revolving loan program for solar panels. Actually back in the 80s, Arcata had such a program that was very successful. It enabled people to borrow money from the city to put solar panels on their roof and then pay it back on their water bills over a period of time, pretty much from the savings they were experiencing from having the solar panels. And I think it's really a shame that we don't have solar panels on almost every roof in Arcata. That would make a huge difference. And then on a more mundane level, another thing I really want to see happen that I worked hard on and never happened is to get a restroom downtown. I mean, it's just, we're a civilized city. We should have a restroom in the downtown area.
Getting back to that class consciousness issue you just raised, if you look at the net worth of the city council members taken as a whole versus the average working class diff in Arcata, there's a pretty wide gulf there. Is it fair to say Arcata itself has a ruling class that own the city government?
I don't think that would. I think that would be a little bit of a stretch. I mean, you certainly look. Some members of the city council do not have a whole lot of money. I think, and I wouldn't say that anyone who's currently on the city council has bad intentions. I think that it's just kind of the focus. There's a huge focus on building up retail business, and retail business is very important to the city. I don't want to, minimize its importance, but I think that there are a whole lot of other things that should be built up, and that includes, and there has been work in that direction, building light manufacturing, building more green jobs. I think it would be great if we could actually be attractive to industries that might be building some of the infrastructure for green technology, like solar panels, probably not the PV panels, because that would involve a huge investment, but it would be great if it could happen.
The issue of a charter for the city of Arcata is something that's come up over and over the years. Is that something you'd like to see actually pushed through to give the general public a greater say over the direction of the city?
Actually, that is on my platform, and I haven't really heard a whole lot about it in the past. I would like to see us get on the path to becoming a charter city. Just for clarification, about a third of the cities in the state of California are charter cities. Eureka is a charter city. The rest of them are like Arcata general law cities. And if we were to draw up a charter, it's a very democratic process. The charter is written, and then it goes to a vote of the people, a majority vote of the people. And that enables us to do several things more. It would enable us to have, for instance, instant runoff or ranked choice voting, which right now we're unable to do. It would enable us to have elections on more minor issues, not at the same time as county elections. It would also enable us to perhaps do things more easily that we're trying to do, like a graduated utility user tax, where it's kind of in the works in the current council, but they didn't manage to get it on the ballot for this election. And the idea is that a person who pays $100 or $2 on their utility bill would pay the usual 2% utility tax. If someone was paying, for whatever reason, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month for a residential area, then they could pay, say, up to 30% of a utility user tax, which might discourage large grows within the city.
As far as public safety is concerned, obviously Arcata has a pretty low crime rate, but at the same time, the general plan authored 10 years ago called for either formation of a police review commission or the hiring of an independent police ombudsman. Those wild-eyed radicals of the Board of Supervisors voted to establish a law enforcement committee. It doesn't have full review commission powers, but it does at least provide for an advisory capacity a review of the policies, practices, and procedures of the Sheriff's Department. They've invited the local cities, if they wish, to send a rep or two to participate in that process, have a memorandum of understanding that would allow a review of the, say, Arcata or other municipal law enforcement departments. Do you think Arcata just needs to go ahead and move forward, either working with the county or establishing its own independent process?
Yes, indeed. When I was on the council, I advocated strongly for some sort of police review, and we were never able to get it passed. Could never get a majority to do that. I think, as you say, it probably would be more on an advisory capacity, but an advisory capacity would really help a lot anyway, because it would give citizens the right to look at what law enforcement is doing, to see whether it was proper what they were doing in terms of civil liberties and civil rights, and to give feedback to the police department. So there would be a degree of oversight without unduly burdening the police themselves.
Also in civil rights, Arcata pretty controversially passed a anti-panhandling ordinance, but it was actually printed in the local newspaper that while the police are verbally talking to alleged panhandlers about the ordinance, they're not actively enforcing it because of concerns that civil rights-oriented attorneys will then take the city to the cleaners and drag them into court over it. Why would the city even pass a law if it doesn't intend to fully enforce it?
That's a good question. I strongly oppose the anti-panhandling law. I think it's reactive rather than proactive. I think it clearly violates the First Amendment as written. Certainly there's a concern, and a valid concern, about aggressive panhandling. I personally believe that that is taken care of by the assault laws that are on the books already. However, if the council, I would not push hard for the repeal of the aggressive panhandling portion of the law that was passed. I think it's okay. It clarifies a little the definition of aggressive panhandling. But the law that says no panhandling within 30 feet of businesses, of corners, of bus stops, etc., is just clearly over the line in violating the First Amendment. And it's part of a trend which is dealing more with public comfort than public safety. Because, yes, everybody has been hassled by panhandlers, and if they're aggressive, they should have the ability to have police act against the aggressive panhandler. If they aren't, it's more a matter of comfort, and what we're doing is taking away our own rights, our own granted by the First Amendment, as well as the rights of the panhandler to beg.
Getting to the inside baseball in City Hall for just a second, Arcata's had a string of, I guess you could say, contentious picks for a city manager. It seemed like it had turned the corner with hiring Michael Hackett, but of course he contracted a terminal illness and passed away not too long after taking up his responsibilities. The city council that you weren't on at the time basically decided to pick from the inside Randy Mendoza, the police chief, as the city manager, someone who had no city manager sort of experience, and without any sort of a public process, a search process that the council had underdone for the previous choice. Did that sort of inside politics decision making disturb you, and what would you like to see to do? What would you like to do more to try to get City Hall a little bit more opened up to the public, a little bit more of the sunshine of public insight?
Well, I actually I've talked with Randy Mendoza. I know Randy pretty well from when he was police chief. I think he was a fair pick for the council. My feeling about Michael Hackett is that he did a whole lot to make to actually take certain powers away from the city council and give them to staff, in terms of making it more administratively controlled than controlled by the democratically elected council members. And I think probably Randy would be open to getting back a little more towards the way it was before that. And I think the staff actually would too, because at this point there's a little bit too much of the too few ideas and too few not enough impetus, let's say, coming from the council for real action, and the staff doing it the best it can to just bring things forward. But it's supposed to be the council bringing ideas forward and the staff evaluating them and the council voting on them.